everyone, and welcome back to Tea Time Crochet. Today we're going to be doing a great scrap project. We're going to be making these little hair bows, and they're perfect to use just leftover scraps that you got sitting around. That's what I did here. And they're super simple. They're just, basically a square, and we're going to sew it together a little bit. And then we're going to create this little band. Really simple, very beginner friendly. So what you're going to need is you're just going to need some scrap worsted weight yarn. I'm not going to need even near as much as this. So any scrap worsted weight yarn. You could use a different weight if you wanted, but you would have to do more rows if it's going to be smaller, and less rows if it's the weight is bigger. So worsted's kind of, right in that perfect in between. So you'll need your worsted weight yarn. You're going to need a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and you're going to need some sort of clip or barrette, whichever you choose to use. I have a little alligator clip here. I have a box full of them that I've collected over the years, so this is what I use. So to get started, we're going to start with the main part of the bow, which is this piece here. So we're going to start with the slip knot, and we are going to chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what we're going to do is we're going to be working in the back bump of our chain. So I'm going to be working in the second chain from the hook with a single crochet into the back bump. And I'm just going to do that all the way across. Oops. Okay, so here's our last stitch, and that's what you should have so far. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to pretend that chain 1 doesn't even exist as usual, and we're going to go back into that beginning single crochet there with just a regular single crochet, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. And here's our last stitch. So we're just going to repeat that row for a total of 8 rows. So, and that's including this first row that we did. Not counting the chain stitch row, but the row that we did after that. So we've completed 2 rows of that section so far, and we need a total of 8. So go ahead and repeat that, and then I will meet up with you when I have completed mine, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I completed my 8 rows. And now we're going to work a round of single crochet around the entire thing. So for the corners, I want to make sure that I put 2 double crochets in each of the corner stitches. So I'm just going to put 2 there. And then I'm just going to evenly space my single crochets down the side of my work. And then we're at our corner space, so I'm going to put 2 single crochets there. And then I'm going to work my way down this other side, and this is our chain side. So when we worked in the back bump, that created the nice edge, and that's what I wanted, so we didn't have such a big gap right there. So that's why we did that. I don't think I said that earlier. And here's a corner stitch. So we're going to put 2 single crochets into that corner stitch. And we're going to be working over this tail as we work up the other side. And we're to another corner stitch. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in that corner, and then we're going to work across our last side here, which is the side that we ended on. That's my last stitch, and here's where we began. If you need to, you could put a stitch marker in the very beginning when you first start. That way you know where that stitch is at. So we're just going to slip stitch to join here. Oops. And we're going to fasten off because we're done with this part. So this is what you should have so far. It's just a square. So you'll want to hide your tails. You should only have one tail. You want to hide that real quick. And then we're going to move on to the band portion. So just gonna So now we can just set this aside. So now we're going to be working on this band portion. So we're going to start off with a slip knot again. And you want to leave a decent tail because we're going to use the tail to sew the back of our band together. It doesn't have to be real long because it's a very small piece, but just long enough to be able to sew over 3 rows of your single crochet. So we're going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we're going to do this exact same thing that we did before. We're going to be working into the back bumps of the chain, starting in the second chain from the hook with a single crochet, and then we're just going to do that all the way across, and that creates that nice edge because we're not going to go back and go over the edge on this, so we want a nice neat edge. There's my last stitch. So we're going to chain 1, and I'm going to forget that chain 1 is there. I'm going to go back into this first single crochet and put a single crochet in there, and then I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Sorry, this piece is kind of tiny, it's hard to hold on to. Got 1 more stitch here, and we are going to repeat that 1 more time for a total of 3 rows, not counting our chain row. You could do less rows for this band if you wanted. It's just kind of personal preference. So I just did my last stitch. We're going to fasten off, and this tail doesn't have to be as long because we're going to just hide it. So on this one I did 3 rows for the band. On this one I only did 2. So you can kind of fiddle with it and, you know, do it however you would like. I also did I did it differently on these 2 bows on how I constructed them together, which I'll get into in just a minute. So let's go ahead and hide this last tail. So how's everybody's week been? Mine's been pretty good. We've been having some really crazy weather, but it looks like it's finally just going to start warming up, and hopefully it'll stay that way. I hate it when it switches back and forth from extremely hot to raining. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 different ways. So this one, I actually seamed the bow together. So I folded my bow like this, and I actually sewed it straight through the middle for this first bow. For this one, I just kind of, you know, scrunched it together, and then I put the band around it, and it worked just fine. I actually like this one better than that one, so I think that's what I'm going to do today. But if you do like this method better, like I said, you just you scrunch it together the way that you want it, and you'll just run a piece of yarn all the way through and then back down, and then tie a little knot there just to secure it. But for my version, I think it's just a little bit cuter. It's not quite so puckered up. It's able to spread out a little flatter than the other one. So I'm going to just do what I did on this one, and I'm just going to kind of scrunch it together the way that I want it, and then wrap my band around it. And you can totally shape the bow after you're done. It doesn't matter if it's not exactly the way that you want it right now, because you can straighten it out and do whatever you need to after you're done. So I'm just going to seam these 2 ends together, just going back and forth. It's going to be on the back of the bow, and the clip that you're going to put in is going to cover this section anyway, so it really doesn't matter. You just want it to be secure so your bow doesn't fall apart. So before you tie that off, now is the time to try and straighten out your bow how you would like it. Kind of shape it a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually secure it to the back of the bow. I hope you can actually see that. So I've just taken a stitch on the back side of the bow, and I'm just going to run my thread through that. And that's just going to secure that this doesn't slide off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to secure it to the top side too. And then we can just tie a little knot to fasten that off. And like I said, your clip's going to cover all this. It's going to be on the back side of your bow, so no one's going to see it. Ugh, this yarn does not want to stay on the needle today. So I'm just going to tighten that up, and I'm just going to run this underneath, and you won't even see that little knot. So just like that, the knot just disappeared. And then I'm just going to kind of run this through the stitches to hide my tail and secure that that doesn't come undone. And then you can just cut it off. So by now your bow is going to be a little wonky, so you're going to have to straighten it out again. Maybe pull it over a little bit if it needs to. But I think these bows are really cute. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your clip, and with an alligator clip like this, I like to have, I don't know if you can see, one side is curved more than the other. This side's kind of flatter. I like to have the curved side facing to the bottom of the bow. I find that when you wear it, it's a lot more comfortable that way. And I've just learned that through making lots of bows through my life. So you can run it all the way through the back like this if you want. Or you can kind of separate the stitches a little bit. Like this, so it's not quite so bulky on the clip. It's just your personal preference. Either way is perfectly fine. It's going to stay in place no matter what. So just like that. And then, like I said, just fiddle with your bow until you get it the way that you want it. So you can add a little bit of hot glue on the back of the clip if you're afraid about it coming out. You can glue the clip on if you would want, but you may have a little issue with the glue poking through and snagging your hair. But I find as long as you know you're careful with it, you're not going to lose the clip. So I think they're really cute. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.